Hey everybody, Johnny Disc Golf here with another off-season interview. This time I am joined by five-time women's world champion, Miss Paige Pierce. How we doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's good to see you, good to talk to you. It's been a while since I've done an interview, so it's good to see a friendly face.
Yeah, and same here, honestly. It's been like maybe the most fun part of the off-season is doing these interviews again and just seeing all my friends. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like that summer break from school where you don't see everyone. You're kind of like antsy, figuring out what everyone's
Uh-huh.
doing. My question to you though, how's your off-season been? Like how's it been going? It's been about 2 months now.
Yeah, it's been great. Honestly, a lot of big changes. Like honestly, for me, it's like I've been living on the road for 12 years in a van, in a
Mm-hmm.
Mazda 5, in a Hyundai Santa Fe, a Ford Escape, and now I finally am in a house that's not on wheels. And so I've been just enjoying that for the first time in my life, like waking up in the same bed and,
Mm-hmm.
like making the bed and just new things that like I've literally, it sounds so stupid to probably some people that are listening that can't relate, but
Mm-hmm.
I've never had that in my whole life. I've like grown up in disc golf, and I'm 30 years old now, and this is the first time I've done that. So it's exciting to me to kind of like be in this normal life
Mm-hmm.
for 2 months, and to get on a schedule, that feels good. And yeah, I've been having a great time like doing house projects until noon, and then at noon putt for an hour, and then eat
Mm.
lunch, and then at a couple more house projects, and then play disc golf into the sunset. And like it's been cool to like get onto a schedule. And yeah, I'm just having a great time. I actually played a tournament yesterday too.
I was just, we're going to get there. We're going to get
Okay,
there. I
yeah,
want to
yeah,
talk about it because
yeah.
that's another kind of important statement tournament as well, but we're going to get that here in a sec. I want to talk about the schedule. You just said like living on a schedule is so rare for disc
Yeah.
golfers. And it's true. You know, you're going from place to place, you're in a van, you're sleeping at a truck stop here. Is that something that you would like to be able to bring into the disc golf tour? Like, in because it really feels like we're about to enter a next stage of
Mhm.
what touring in disc golf looks like. Is that something you'd like to bring along, somehow combine the two?
Yeah, totally. And honestly, I don't like the thought of having too strict of a schedule because then it becomes redundant and you get bored. But
Mm-hmm.
with disc golf, it's the complete opposite where you, like you said, you don't know where you're sleeping. And you have to be okay with that. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be adaptable to change. And um, I think a little bit more structure and a little bit more scheduling will and is going to help me. And this season, I'm actually, for the first time, I'm going to be flying back home between events, not every event. Not like a Nate Sexton type of player yet,
Yeah.
where I have a kid and I'm trying to like
Mm-hmm.
come see my kid or something. But I am going to be flying back and forth. I think it's 6 times over the
Mm.
season.
Okay.
So maybe more if it comes to that. But booked flights, I already have 6 planned times I'm coming
Mm-hmm.
back home.
So, speaking of home, last year we did one of these off-season interviews, me and you were coming from, or you were speaking to me from the backyard of your Hawaiian house.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
so I was under the impression you purchased the house and that was kind of going to be where you were going to be living. Now you're in Florida, right?
yeah. Yes.
So what has gone on in your life? Why are we talking to you from Florida now?
Yeah, I was looking at places in Hawaii.
Hmm.
Um, I loved it there, absolutely, and I still do. I will go there as many times as I can, but for it to be my first house, it didn't seem really feasible because I have all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been on the road for so long. I had a room at my parents' house full of stuff. I had my grandpa's shed was full of stuff. And I'm like, well, if I move to Hawaii, I can't really get all that stuff there. And so I need almost like a storage unit, but a
Yeah.
place that's in on the mainland by an airport, warm, so I can train in the off season, and a good spot to be.
Hmm.
And so yeah, Florida. We came to visit Eric and Tina after the Pro Tour Championships, and we were just joking around, looking at the app, and then we were like, "Wow, that house is cheap! Wow, let's go look at it." Eric and Tina are like best friends with their realtor,
Hmm.
and within a couple hours, we had an appointment to go look at this house, and we fell in love with it. There was like
Wow.
nothing that needed to be done. So it wasn't like my off season was going to be
A
working on
project. Yeah.
renovations. It was like move-in ready and really affordable. And yeah, it was done deal pretty much. It
Yeah.
was
I
crazy.
mean, like also let's be honest, off season, Florida, that's like what a disc
Oh my
golfer
gosh, it's
needs, right?
perfect. It's perfect. Today it's like I got a long sleeve on. It's a little chilly. It's like 62 or something. So yeah, you can still play all year long. And there's been 3 or 4 days where it's dipped into the 30s, but
Hmm.
other than that, you can still play in 30.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, speaking of which, I probably did play in 30 degrees this weekend. I played in a tournament over in the East Bay, played wildly average, mediocre golf, but you played an event in Alabama that
Yeah.
really had like a bit of a special energy, I would imagine, to the whole thing. Could you talk to me? Like, you weren't planning on playing a tournament, but you did end up
No.
playing.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So honestly, and like diving into a community, I was raised in Dallas,
Hmm.
and when I was growing up, I loved going to the weeklies with my dad, but I was a little kid, I wasn't driving myself to the
Yeah.
weeklies. So these people, cheered me on as a kid and stuff. And it felt cool to be in a community, but they were all my elders, and in a way they felt like my friends, but not really. And so now I'm coming to Florida and I'm like putting down roots here, and
Hmm.
I want to go to the putting leagues and join their community and be
Hmm.
like a local. I don't want to be Paige Pierce, the 5-time world champion.
Yeah.
I want to be their friend. And like when I come home, it's like, hey, let's go hang, whatever. And so I wanted to find an event that I could go to and be like, hey, thanks for welcoming me, basically.
Hmm.
But I hadn't planned on it being this event because it was a C tier and it wasn't exactly Pensacola. It was 40 minutes down the road in Alabama. Um, but yeah, one of Tina's good friends and someone that I met at putting league, and she's so nice and just like everyone is talking to her friends, everything. Um, Tina actually told me that night that there was actually 13 women that were signed up for this tournament, the Fairhope.
Hmm.
I can't remember the name.
Jubilee,
Fairhope
I think.
Jubilee,
Yeah.
Jubilee.
Yeah.
And there was 13 women signed up for the event. And then once this girl signed up, who is transgender, um, they decided to drop out of that division and to go play with the recreational men. All 13 of them gathered together and said, let's move divisions, let's go play with the men. And for me, seeing how sad it made her and how
Yeah.
excluded it made her was just like, and I posted about this last night too. And like,
Hmm.
I don't know what I think should happen, but there's like all this talk. And I listened to Terry Miller's interview with Natalie Ryan,
Hmm.
and she kind of proposed some things, or some things that she heard that maybe could be an option of like, okay, let's create a new division. Let's test the hormone
Hmm.
levels. Let's whatever. And all these people, everyone has their opinions, right? And everyone's trying to be like, well, what should we do? What should we do? And I don't know that answer. It's even my own opinion to that answer, but I do know that we shouldn't just like shun her. We shouldn't shun anybody away. Disc golf is so inclusive to everybody. Like, it doesn't matter what size, shape, color, anything. Like, what gender you were born, what gender you currently are, it doesn't matter. If you like throwing discs, like that's what bonds us.
Hmm.
And the hey, sweet shot, high five, that's the love. And it just made me so sad, like putting myself in her shoes and feeling like everyone was just like walking away from you like you were some kind of like disease or
Yeah.
something. Like, it made me so angry actually too. And I don't know any of these women. I don't have their contact. And unfortunately, they weren't at the event because the AM side of the event was the day before. And I was kind of like laying in bed, like, okay, how can I talk to these women and not be like reprimand them
Yeah.
or like, this is what you should do, but just to enlighten them of like, hey, have you tried to put yourself in their shoes, in Chloe's shoes and Natalie Ryan's shoes? Like, what if you had this feeling that you were in the wrong body and you went through this huge decision to what is it?
Transition.
Transition. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Transition. That's already a huge decision. And it's like, that takes so much courage, just
Yeah.
that small step. And then you do that. And then the world is like, no, you don't belong here. I just, it didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll go play a C tier and like opposite of boycott it, like in support. Like I'm gonna have a great time playing with Chloe. I had a great time playing with her at putting league and chatting with her, and she's a nice human being. And I'll go play with her for one day at a C tier and hit some putts, watch her, see what her skill set's like, and yeah.
Well, and for me, I just appreciate the heck out of you and your mindset on the whole thing. It's near and dear to my heart. One of our team members for Team San Francisco is transgender, and it's just very important to me to keep the sport inclusive and keep, all I can do myself is like our own personal club and like control and push towards that culture. But like, I just think it's so important for you, me, people who have a voice to step up on those sorts of things. And I actually think you really nailed it. And you don't know what the answer is, but you know that this wasn't the right one, like, so I just want to say for me, like, I appreciate you. I don't know that I have a ton to add to the conversation just because I don't think that I have the right perspective on the whole, on the whole thing. And so I don't want to speak on other people's behalf, but I just wanted to make sure that I got this out there, that I appreciate you doing that. And I wanted you to give a chance to explain the whole situation. That kind of leads me into my next question and next topic, really. And that was the announcement from Thomas Gilbert becoming really the only openly gay player in MPO that I can think of, at least off the top of my head. And something that I thought of was you and the journey that you've been on over the past, I can't tell you the exact dates. You have better perspective on this, but it seems like you've got a lot more comfortable in your own skin over the last couple of years. And I just wanted to get your perspective on Thomas's announcement and maybe some of the things he might be going through, and maybe your perspective on your own journey over the last couple of years.
Yeah. So actually, Thomas came when I was staying at Tina's house. I told you I came here after the Pro Tour Championships. Thomas was also here. And so we slept under the same roof for, I don't know, 5 to 6 nights. And literally right away, I sit down on the couch. I'm like, hey, Thomas. He's like, hey, Paige. And within our hellos, he already said, I just want you to know that I'm gay. And I was like, wow, like right off the bat, I love it, Thomas. Like, this is amazing. And like, so honored that he felt safe around me. And then he kind of told me that like he appreciated and like respected the way that I've kind of come out in the last, like slowly, but like not like, he was just kind of like, I guess, asking me for advice because he had come out to his family. He come out to most of his family and his sponsors and stuff, but he hadn't done it to the general public yet. And he was just like more concerned with like his peers. Like, are any of my friends going to stop talking to me because they might think I like them or something like that? And yeah, so sorry, we actually stayed up really late one night, probably till like 3 a.m. just talking about it. And it was really, really nice conversation because I don't know. I think a lot of times people don't like, people think that it's a scary topic and people don't want to talk about it when it's just really, at the end of the day, I'm not any less normal than you are, Corey, because you're heterosexual. So it was a really cool conversation, and he just, it was really nice. And for me, I chose to not make it like, for two big reasons. I chose to not make it like this big thing where like I'm gay,
Yeah.
because I don't think that it it should be something where I'm the odd one, or Thomas actually in that conversation, he joked to me about this movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's this scene in the movie where it's like a spoof, and um, it's like these people sitting their parents down on a couch, and he's like, "Hey, mom, I just want you to know I like girls," and the girl's like, "Hey, mom, I want you to know I'm into men," and it's like, why do we do that as
Mm-hmm.
or feel that gay people should do that we should have to sit our parents down and sit
Yeah.
our and for me it's just like you love who you love. Like I don't even know if I'm 100% a lesbian
Mm-hmm.
or not, I just love Alyssa with my
Yeah.
entire being, and there's no question about that. And so I just she's always been a big part of my life, and that's just what I do want to show of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy and open to show that. But the second reason I was kind of talking about is like, I've lived, like I told you, I've been on the road for this long, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I've lived that whole chunk of my life, my entire adult life, I've spent behind a camera or like in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And, as like the most special part of my life, I didn't want people to have that much access. This is my heart. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, you can watch me play disc golf, you can whatever, but like this is sacred to me and I don't want your judgment coming here.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, like in public, we're holding hands, whatever, and everybody around us knows, but it wasn't necessarily something that I would post about.
Yeah.
But yeah, there just came a time where it felt like you said, he's the only openly MPO person that that. And once we did start to post a little bit more, we got so many people that were just like, thank you so
Mm-hmm.
much. And like, this is giving me courage. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize that it was still such a big struggle,
Yeah.
because for me, it hasn't been. It's been so nice. But, then remembering that people are still struggling out there to be more open, it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like eye-opening for both Thomas and I in that conversation that, wow, we should be more open, and especially because there's not that many that are inside of disc golf, and I'm sure there are more out there.
Mm-hmm. And for me, you kind of started that sentiment saying that you felt very honored and like that he would feel comfortable with you to share that with you. And I feel honored to be a part of a culture and a community at large that people can feel comfortable being themselves. And I think like disc golf, I live in San Francisco, and disc golf here, obviously it swings in one direction socially, but like across the country, there are a lot of areas that just think differently than me and a lot of my friends. And the number one thing that I've noticed in disc golf is like that just has not been an issue for anybody. It's been very inclusive and very
Totally.
supportive. And I am proud to be a part of a community that is that way, despite a lot of us thinking differently on a lot of subjects. Does that resonate with you as well?
Yeah, and honestly, that's something that Alyssa and I considered for a long time about where we're gonna live and like the acceptance of the gay community, and just like belief systems in general. Are people open-minded? Are people loving?
Yep.
You know, and I think it's quite significantly less here in Florida open-minded than it is in
Sure.
San Francisco, for instance. But I think that people everywhere are coming around. And I think, playing yesterday with Chloe and all of this on my mind, and every fairway, I'm thinking about just this constant theme in my head was just like thinking about judgment
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about who are we to judge each other. We spend so much of our life judging, like, do I like this phone? Oh, should I get an Android? Oh man, that person has an Android, that's so much better. Oh, but this one does FaceTime. And it's just like we spend so much of our energy judging things, whether it's good or bad, whether we're like, wow, Corey, your shirt is awesome. It's like, let's just live and like
Yeah.
stop analyzing each other. And yeah, I'm growing up every day, just like learning more things. And it's all through disc golf, like
Yep.
literally me playing with a transgender woman, me having this conversation with Thomas, and I'm like learning these like life lessons. And I just love this community, and I know that there is people that have differing opinions, and I think that that's great. But I think the one thing that I would just, if I had one wish, it would just be that we just didn't judge anyone else,
Yeah.
because we're all just trying to be happy. And what makes you weird is because you're different than somebody else, but that's okay.
It's the best.
Why,
It's the most
if we were
beautiful
all,
thing.
yeah, if we were all the same, we'd just be robots walking around. And you know so I don't know. I admire the people that are different. I'm drawn to people that
Hmm.
have a different energy, or when yeah, and you
I
find a lot of that in disc golf. You find a
yes.
lot of crazy, weird, strange, awesome energies in disc golf.
I totally agree. It's yeah, it's truly been the defining characteristic of like my late 20s and early 30s is finding disc golf, and it's completely changed my life in every way, like from
Mhm.
my friend group to my career to how I define myself as a human.
Mhm.
And so having that community come and support stuff that I think is important to support has been really nice, honestly, over the past week or so. I want to shift the focus a little bit to frisbees and the reason why you're
Yeah,
here,
let's do
right?
it.
You brought some headlines last year when you had a documentary crew following you for a bulk of the season, not the whole season, but a
Yeah.
good chunk of it. Um, you had a fundraiser. You raised a significant amount of money. I'll tell you what, the lenses were unbelievable that you guys were shooting on. I've seen the trailer. It looks incredible, high quality footage. Frankly, the most beautiful disc golf footage I've probably ever seen. You have a bit of an update, though. Could
Yes.
you kind of let us behind the scenes a little bit? What's been going on from the documentary perspective?
Yeah, so actually today I just realized, oh my God, today's Monday. I got to pack because tomorrow I am at 6 a.m. Actually, I
Oh,
fly to Philadelphia,
mm-hmm.
which is where our narrator lives. And her name is Carly Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you guys already know who this
You
is
better.
just by her name. But for
Yep.
those of you that don't watch soccer, she was the U.S. women's soccer coach.
Mm-hmm.
Captain.
Yes.
And she is a multi-time Olympian. She has won 2 gold medals. She was athlete of the year multiple times,
Mm-hmm.
and just like one of the best soccer players to ever play the game. And yeah, we got her on board. She's doing the narrating, and that's going to be tomorrow. So we're flying there and recording. And then after recording's done, flying back to the studio in
Mm-hmm.
Utah and starting to plug in her narration and finalize graphics. And that's
Wow.
the final step. The sound team has been working on it for the last month, getting the music, all of the scoring, the music, the sounds. Like we went to a course and
Yep.
they recorded like, yeah, and all these little sounds, just chains with the best mics. We already
Mm-hmm.
had the chains on the tournament coverage, but like making it so crisp and sounds so good on big theater speakers. So that has been really cool to hear the transition from before the sound team got it to after the sound team got it. And wow. So they've been working on that, and now once they get her narration track, they're going to put that in and mess with the levels of, okay, does her voice need to be louder here? Do the
Mm-hmm.
chains need to be louder? That stuff. So that'll take, I was told, around 2 weeks to feel like perfecto. And then from there, it's already been entered into a few film festivals. The way it works is I'm like, how is it entered? It's not done,
Yeah.
But you just put in, and this is only for not for all of the film festivals, but you can enter it into the film festival. And as long as it's entered by a certain date, you can update the version of the film. So we entered it into the film festivals that qualified. And then once a big part of this, and this was getting Carly Lloyd was not cheap. But we wanted to have someone well-renowned and someone who spoke for women's rights, because a lot of the film is about gender equality and, you know, how disc golf has taken the FPO field now to where we're getting equal payouts, and Carly Lloyd and the U.S. women's soccer team were a big part of making that happen in soccer. So someone that was passionate about that and someone that people knew and respected, having her name associated with the film astronomically like increases the credibility of the film and the legitimacy. So once we get that done, you know, we're hoping that a Netflix is willing to bite, or a big platform like that. And so, yeah, we are in the final stages of getting it ready, and then we can pitch it to Netflix, pitch it to all these other places, or hope someone gets interest at it at those festivals.
Sure. Yeah. That's kind of the other half of the battle, is the distribution portion of it. Yeah. I just love how, I mean, you better be getting like a producer credit on this thing, because you seem to be, okay, good. Because you seem to be very in the know with a lot of the nitty gritty production side of it. Was that a priority for you going in, or did it just work this way?
Yeah. So, it's like all this expenses coming out of my pocket, with the exception of the GoFundMe, or we didn't use GoFundMe, we used the
Kickstarter,
Indiegogo.
Indiegogo.
Yeah. So the Indiegogo portion was funded by you guys, and then the other half was from me. And so I own the film basically. So and yeah, so it was important to me to have a lot of decision making. And yeah, we actually went to Utah to do the initial screening. And then I was like, okay, took notes. This part I don't want in there. This part I don't want in there. This part, let's lengthen. I want to draw more attention to that, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, it was very important. And I'm not a movie maker. So in some aspects, we kind of butted heads of like, I think that piece is really important. Okay, but here's why I don't. And it was really cool to hear the filmmakers' perspectives of like, you need this part, you need this part, you need this part. And so that was really cool for me to just learn more about, because you see a trailer and you're like, damn, that movie looks cool. I'm going to go check it out. And you go watch the movie and that's all you know. You don't see all the things that go into it. So I'm finding that fascinating as I get older, to learn how this was made, you know? And it's really cool. But we're actually releasing the trailer tomorrow. Once I get to Philadelphia. So yeah, look for that tomorrow on my YouTube and social media platforms and stuff. And share it. And share it.
Yes. I mean, I may or may not have already saw a little sneak peek, and oh my God, it looks, I can't wait for the world to see it. It really does look professional, and I'm hyped for the whole thing to come together. I appreciate you being interested in the back end too, because like a lot of the talent per se that we're working with doesn't really care or acknowledge the fact that like there's so, you know, you shoot the film for 3 months and then there's like 2 years of work that goes into it, or 18 months that goes in on the back end. So appreciate you just being in the know and touching on all that stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm loving it. it.
Last season, despite the documentary, you had inarguably a great season by any disc golfer standards. How did you feel how do you feel, I should say, looking back? You know, Missy Gannon did take Most Improved and Player of the Year. You probably did take first at more tournaments. How do you feel yourself about your season last year?
Yeah, it's funny because there's all these awards, right? And Katrina won the PDGA Player of the Year, and Missy won the Pro Tour Player of the Year. And for me, I mean, I'm not mad or jealous or anything like that, but it does make me like have this self-doubt, because for me, I thought I had a great season, and, you know, I won 7 events, including a major and, you know, 5 pro tours. And, I think, looking back, it wasn't my best season to date. I've had seasons where I've won 3 majors in one
Mm-hmm.
season, but I had a great season with new raising levels of FPO competition. And um, at the end of the day, I'm stoked with my season.
Mm-hmm.
But when awards do come out like that and I don't get recognized, it's like, oh, maybe it wasn't that good. And like the self-doubt creeps in. And that's kind of where you don't want to be as an athlete, right? So yeah, I kind of try to stay out of
Yeah.
even looking at that stuff and looking at the comments, because the only thing that's going to do is decline my confidence, and
Yeah.
going into 2022, that's not something I want, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, so I just try to kind of stay out of the loop on that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
with the exception of saying, hey Missy, freaking nice season, great job. And obviously respecting Katrina's year as well, like
Mm-hmm.
winning her second world title, and always just, she's been on the road as long as I have, and just consistently staying on the top like that. I can relate that how hard it is, and so
Mm-hmm.
I can respect her doing the same. And yeah, so I think about that, but then I try to move forward and stay with a head strong
Yeah.
and high level of confidence, because we have a month until our next
Yeah.
season, and I don't want to be thinking about any negative things really.
Okay. So I'm going to say this despite you literally just saying that you don't want to think of
It's
any
okay.
negative
It's
things.
okay.
Okay. And I know, and I'm only going to say it because I actually know that you're like ironclad and like can take it. But like, do you think that one upshot on 18 at Worlds, like, do you think if that lands in bounds, you chip up, tap in, sixth world title, do you feel like you'd be player of the year if that was just inbounds?
I mean, I would have to think so. I don't,
Yeah.
I had won 6 events in a row
Yeah.
before that. That would have been my 7th win in a row, and to win 2 majors in that span.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really see how anybody would argue against that. But from my experience, the fans and the media kind of have a short memory, and with Missy winning a few big events
Yeah.
and them all being at the end of the season, it's fresh on your mind. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, Missy's coming, Missy's coming. And she is coming.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of forget about me. And that puts me in a spot where I have to now choose, do I want to use that as motivation? And do I want to be like, hey, I'm still here? Or do I take that and I'm like, oh man, and just like kind of hide and like, oh, that's so sad. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's definitely a struggle every day to be on your best mental plane,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because we're not just athletes, we're also like kind of entertainers in a way, and like performers. And you know maybe I'm not singing and I don't need my vocal cords to be the best, but I need my mind to be ready to get past those like little hurdles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. And again, I one of the things I respect about you the most is you've always been so candid and so willing to talk about the ups and also the downs. And like not a lot of disc golfers are necessarily willing to like deep dive on some of the down parts, and talk to us after a bad round. Like it's, it can be really tough to get people to talk about a loss,
Yeah.
and so I just appreciate your openness with everything, in that regard.
Yeah, I feel like it helps me learn when I talk about it, because like you can just sit it in your head and let it
Mm-hmm.
stew. But I think like when I vocalize it out loud, I like kind of like, I'm like, okay, I processed it, I got it out. Now it's out of
Yeah.
me, and on to the next good thought.
Totally. Let's talk about next year a little bit. Last year, you came, I mean, A, fantastic season, but B, you came out with the Passion, which
Mhm.
seems to be a great hit. I know quite a few people just anecdotally that throw
Awesome.
them. So I have to
Awesome.
imagine it's going to be, that way across the country. But what can we expect next from you? Is there going to be like your hand with another disc? Is there going to be like your name on an already made disc? What should we expect?
Yeah, we aren't really talking right now about making this. I'm trying to kind of focus this year, because 2021 was with the making of the Passion and me kind of speaking up for women's US women's, and then the documentary. And I just had a lot of stuff going on outside of throwing the disc. This year, I kind of want to just take a slight pause on any of the behind the scenes
Extracurriculars.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I just want to hit the tour harder. And yeah, there comes a point where when you get a new disc, you obviously love the disc, right? You're the one that chose it, you designed it, but there comes this pressure of like, okay, I want to throw this disc more often, maybe more often than I should. You have tournaments every weekend, so you don't have these 2 months in the off season to work on the disc and get to know it in and out. You're learning it in the tournament. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, my very first tournament with the Passion, I eagled the first hole I threw it, but there are still some shots where a wind gust comes and you're like, okay, what exact angle do I need to put this on? And so messing with new discs sometimes can cause you to have mistakes where that is going to be the right disc for that hole, but until you learn it, it might not be your best option in that moment. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of want to take a little bit of a pause on that. Plus, I have one more year in my contract with Discraft. So I kind of want to focus on what they value and to increase my value to them, so that in negotiations at the end of this year, then we're both on the same page of what our partnership looks like moving forward.
Wow, I love it. 2022, the Europeans are coming back over. It's going to be a contract year for Paige Pierce, so she's dialed in, looking to win. I am so hyped for this season. Honestly, though, Paige, like this whole interview has been unbelievable, and I can't wait to post it. I think a lot of people are going to be interested. That's pretty much all I have for it, though, right now. I wanted to give you a chance, though, if there's anything that we didn't cover, or if there's like any shout-outs, thanks that you want to get off your chest. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think the last thing I would want to talk about is the World Games. If you go to theworldgames.org, they actually, so the World Games is basically the Olympics for sports that aren't already in the Olympics. And so it's like the sports that are on their way to being recognized on the Olympic level. And so anyway, today the World Games announced their athletes of the year. And there's 22 participants or nominations, I think is the proper word. Yeah. And I made it on there to represent the sport of disc golf. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like whitewater rapiding. There's like sport climbing, there's lacrosse, there's all kinds of things, but disc golf is on there. And I'm the candidate that's kind of like, fighting for disc golf. And I'm one of 4 Americans only. There's only 4 Americans on there. So, wow. And just being in a position where we can get disc golf recognized more globally, like this there's people from all over the world being represented here. So, you can vote every single day, and the top 10 vote getters,
works.
They move on to the next round, and then the voting continues for like another 5 days or something like that. And then, someone becomes named athlete of the year. But even if I don't win, it's not necessarily about that. It's more just, okay, let's get to this next round.
Yeah.
And so then they're like disc golf, and maybe there's people on the Olympic committee that haven't heard of it. And then they're like, this person's getting a lot of votes. Maybe we should look into this sport a little bit more. And so,
where can people go to vote? Like I actually, you said you posted it on your Instagram and all that stuff, but like, where do you direct people? It's
theworldgames.org. And then there's like a / link that's like / athlete of the year, maybe / vote or something like that. But yeah, I posted the link. I can text it to you so you can like put it on the description or something.
Yeah,
too.
Please, if you don't mind.
Yeah. But yeah, you can vote every single day. And voting ends, the first round of voting ends, I think on the 20th or something. So we have 10 days.
Okay. So, yeah. I saw that there was a pretty good window, but having said that, you can vote every day, right? So every day.
Yep.
you know, there's 10 days left. You don't wait till the end to cast your vote. Like,
No, 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 no.
cast it
Every
now
day.
and every day. Yeah.
Especially because though there's one guy that's way in the lead. He's a sport climber. And
Oh.
he's got, I was like, wow, I have 2,400 votes. This is awesome. Disc golfers. Yay. And then I go down to the bottom and he's got 22,000 or something in
Oh.
6 hours. So I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, like we can do this. Like there's hundreds of thousands of us, if not more, if not millions.
Yeah.
So yeah, if everyone just votes once a day, like we can make a big statement and be like, hey, this isn't even about Paige Pierce. This is about the number of votes. Like there are that many disc golfers that are wanting this to become an athlete, you know, an Olympic sport. So I think it's really cool. Once I got that email, I was like, whoa, this is cool. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
I know. It's just a legitimizer too, you know? It's like, and not an award compared to other disc golfers. It's something greater than that.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Well, listen, folks, go make your votes. Do it now. worldgames.org. Paige, is there anyone that you'd like to thank? Is there any company you'd like to thank? Shout out to the people out there watching. Floor is yours.
I guess, yeah, everyone really, like, you know, it's general and vague, you know, but like if you're watching this and you love disc golf and you love supporting like the disc golf media, if you support me, if you're wearing any of my Paige Pierce gear, if you're throwing any of my discs, like thank you so much. It's so awesome. Literally going to this tournament yesterday and seeing these Paige Pierce hats and coming over the hill and seeing like 70 people at a seat here watching me play is just like, what? This is like so crazy. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope that I see you guys at the Disc Golf Con. I think that's going to be one of the coolest things that's ever happened to disc golf. Just all of us celebrating disc golf, you learning from pros, we interact, stuff like that. And if not, come to a disc golf pro tour this year or watch us on Disc Golf Media. So thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you, Paige. Really, again, appreciate your time. Check out Disc Golf Con. Check out DGN this whole next season to see Paige tearing it up in her contract year. That is about all I have for this interview, though. If you'd like coverage of all things disc golf, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel.